time and date of this meeting were included in the annual meeting notice posted in the community center and sent to the official newspapers of the township, the Verona, Cedar Grove Times, and the Star Ledger, at least 48 hours preceding the start time of this meeting. The agenda and instructions on how to comment will be provided at the appropriate time. All meetings are recorded. Those wishing to speak during any public comment period should only provide their name and municipality. Street addresses are not required, but please be advised that should a member of the public choose to state their street address, it will not be redacted from this recording. Dr. Reese.
Here.
Mrs. Murphy Braddix. Mrs. DiBartolo.
Here.
Bill Cortez.
Here.
Vice Chair Weston.
Here.
Chairman McGinley.
Here.
We have Board Attorney Mr. Pierre O'Malley is here, and Engineer Mr. Tenkate is here.
Okay. If you would, please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Thank you. We have a new member of the Zoning Board this evening, and we are going to have our council swear Mr. Cuerdas in.
Thank you, Mr. Cuerdas. Mr. Cuerdas, would you raise your right hand? I, Jesus Cuerdas, do solemnly swear
I, Jesus Cuerdas, do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support, the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the same and to the governments
to the same and to the governments
established in the United States and in this state,
established in the United States and in this state,
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
and that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly
I will faithfully, impartially, and unjustly
perform all duties of the office of the Verona Zoning Board of Adjustment to the best of my ability.
perform all the duties
Of the Verona
of
Zoning
the
Board
Verona Zoning Board
to the best of my
to
ability.
the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome. Okay, let's start with some general information. This board deals with the issuance of variances from the Verona zoning ordinance. That ordinance establishes specific requirements for the land area in the township and regulates not only the uses permitted, but the size of the lots, setbacks required, parking, signs, conditional uses, and numerous other such regulations. An applicant is never entitled to a variance. Applicants must meet specific criteria contained in the state municipal land use law by satisfying certain legal standards of proof. The burden is on the applicants to show that they should be granted the specific relief requested. Depending on the type of variance requested, applicants will need to prove special reasons, undue hardship, a balance of benefits, and other criteria. These are legal proceedings. Public meeting notices have been published. Neighbors have been notified. Applicants and their representatives will provide sworn testimony and be subject to cross-examination. Any action this board takes at this meeting will be memorialized in a resolution document prepared by our legal counsel that will be reviewed and adopted typically at our next regular meeting. At that time, any variances granted will become effective. That said, we are a board that does its business in a fairly informal manner. Applicants are sworn in, tell us what they want to do with their property and what they are asking the board to do. Board members will question witnesses, and then members of the public may question those witnesses. At the conclusion of the testimony, members of the public may make a statement regarding the application. After closing the public portion of the application, the board will deliberate and render a decision. Okay. We are now on item E of the agenda. We are going to defer the minutes of the March 14th meeting to May 9th, correct? Thank you. We have item F, we have one resolution from our last meeting. That would be resolution 2024-04, the application of John and Kathleen Westling at 144 Elmwood Road. The removal of the garage, extra building, replacement of the garage and the extra building. Hopefully everyone has had an opportunity to review it. I don't believe we had any specific conditions to address. Okay. If not,
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2024-04.
I'll second.
thank you. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the resolution is approved. Takes us down to our new business. And I should point out the first item on the agenda is application 2024-02, 700 Bloomfield Avenue. And we have received correspondence from the attorney for 700 Bloomfield Avenue, which states that in light of the fact that there are not 7 members of the zoning board present at this evening's hearing, the client requests to reschedule the application to the board's meeting of Thursday, May 9th. So if we agree to move it to Thursday, May 9th, the applicant will not have to reschedule. Counselor, keep me online here.
Absolutely, that's correct. So the attorney for the applicant, 700 Bloomfield Avenue, Block 1606, Lot 13, that's Zoning Board of Adjustment, case 2024-02, has requested an adjournment to the next regularly scheduled meeting of the board. That's going to be Thursday, May 9th, 2024. That meeting will begin also at 8 p.m., be held in person right here, 880 Bloomfield Avenue, Verona Community Center. In light of this adjournment, no further notice will be provided by the applicant to members of the public. So if anyone is here for the 700 Bloomfield Avenue application, please be advised that no further notice will be provided, and the application has been adjourned to the May 9th, 2024 meeting beginning at 8 p.m. in person right here.
Perfect. Okay, so all those in favor of adjourning 700 Bloomfield Avenue to May, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions?
I would just briefly make note, for the record, the attorney has agreed to waive the time limitations for municipal action for the duration of that requested adjournment through the May 9th, 2024 meeting. Thank you.
We're in order. Thank you. All right, that moved us through what could have been a 2 or 3 hour review. So we move right on to application number 2 on the agenda this evening. Number 2024-03, 97 Linwood Road. If the applicants would be so kind as to come up and please stand before the table, our counsel will swear you in.
We're all set? Everybody going to be testifying tonight?
Planner and the applicant.
Okay, great. Applicant, would you state your name for the record?
Gerald Denuisi,
Would you spell it for me?
Geraldluisi.
And will your wife be testifying as well, or just yourself?
I'll be going to speak.
Great. Would you raise your right hand? You swear the testimony you're going to provide today will be the truth?
Yes.
I do. Okay. And what's your name, sir, as planner?
Alexander Dougherty, last name is D-O-U-G-H-E-R-T-Y, Dougherty Planning Development, 54 Main Street, Chatham, New Jersey.
Great. Would you raise your right hand? You swear the testimony you're about to provide today is going to be the truth?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Feel free to begin.
Basically, I have a single-family home on.
Be comfortable. Have a seat.
Have a seat. And just make sure your microphones are on there. It's perfect.
I'd like to make some alterations to single-family home on Linwood Road, expedited by an extra child. and really for more conducive use of my property. At the time these homes were built, they were kind of built with massive garages in the big right corner, and we don't have really any usable space in the yard. So what I'm applying for, the main thing, is to knock the existing garage down and basically pull it forward roughly, I don't know the exact measurements, it's on the plans. Make the garage smaller, pull it forward 30 or 40 feet, cut my impervious coverage down. But with that, I have a side yard setback that I am dealing with. But I spoke to the neighbor to the immediate right where the garage currently is, and, she basically said, well, I don't want you to move. I'm happy having you here. So what do I care if you move, if your garage stays 5 feet off my property back there, or if you pull it forward and really the front of the garage starts where her house ends. So it will not be on top of her. It's basically a usable backyard, and I want to bring my garage forward. And, the addition in the rear of the house is over an existing patio. So it has no bearing on impervious coverage because it's on the patio that's there. We need an extra bedroom above it for the extra child. And off the back of the garage, we really need to put a mudroom in because all the kids' backpacks, sports equipment, sneakers, snow stuff is currently coming in the back door and getting dumped, in the middle of the kitchen.
So the additions on the rear of the house, and if you're on Linwood looking at your house on the right side?
On the right side where my garage currently is, yes, correct.
Okay. And I guess on the right side, on the first floor, it's all the garage. Right above it is a den, master bedroom, and laundry. That's the plan.
Yes, the way it has to be configured now, yes. The way it's configured, yes.
Do you know at this point how many windows or where the
No windows on that side. One window in the bathroom just to let light in, high up like an awning style window, but not where anybody's head would be out. I don't want to be looking at my neighbor's house.
Okay.
Nor do I want her looking at me when I'm getting out of the shower.
Okay. And you said that her house, the end of it starts where the addition?
Yeah, within a foot or two. I didn't get a tape measure go out, but basically where the rear left corner of her house is would be where the front of the garage is. So if you're across the street, I was at my buddy's house, they're across the street and like halfway up. If you're sitting in his front window, you can't even see the start of my garage because it's back probably 20 feet from the front corner of my property. I don't know the exact, it's on the plans.
Are you removing any trees?
No. As a matter of fact, when the garage comes down, I'm going to continue the current retaining walls that I have there and just put an expansive garden up there. I put 8 monster green giants in when they built the condos behind me on Bar and Burdette, and the developer was nice enough to put one Charlie Brown Christmas tree. So I had everybody staring down on me from their kitchen windows. So I incurred a $3,000 expense to put these 6-foot trees, which are now like 15 foot, that I really grew, just to put a buffer on between the properties.
I thought I saw an application of vegetable garden.
Yeah. Oh. Okay, so the second floor, we're, proposing to add a 4th bedroom and a laundry, because our laundry is currently like in a 2nd floor hall closet, and just the clothes keep spilling out of the laundry and into the hall. So we just kind of want an independent room above the garage for the laundry.
While we have a break, Counselor, we have jurisdiction of this case?
Yes. So I reviewed the legal notices that were both published and mailed to property owners within 200 feet. The notice is proper. This board does have jurisdiction to hear the application. My apologies for not doing that at the outset.
We take out the leave now.
What is that?
You got jurisdiction to be heard before the board.
Oh, okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
And one more question. Mr. Tenkate, how high can a retaining wall be before it needs engineering approval?
4 feet.
4 feet? Okay.
Yeah, Kathleen and I went over that.
Okay.
Yeah, we're continuing existing. I measured them for Tommy, Mr. Jacobson, and everything was good.
You want to let the board know how far back the rear addition is coming off?
It's not right there. 18 feet off the rear left corner, which again is currently patio. By removing all the driveway because it's a double driveway going back to where the garage is, so the garage is basically coming forward. The structure is going to be either on what's currently patio or currently blacktop, so my impervious cover is actually going down 14%. Which will finally give me a 55 by, 30 block of grass that's actually usable.
So, yeah.
That's all I have.
Board have questions of either the witness or his architect?
The witness is a planner, not an architect, correct?
I'm a professional planner.
Planner.
Do we need to vet, just for the record?
Well, when he's ready to testify, I will qualify him as an expert.
Okay, do we have,
Any
so
questions
for
for
the owner?
Correct.
Do you intend to park in this new garage?
I'm sorry?
Do you intend to park in this new garage, or you?
No, after the second, my kid stuff is inhabited my garage. I can't get a car in there now, and it's getting smaller, so no.
Okay, so your cars will be in the driveway? then?
Correct.
How old are your kids?
9, 7, 4.
So they're not of driving age?
No.
So no new anticipated cars for at least a decade?
And as far as that question, if you look on the plans, the driveway has a slight cut to the left of the garage, so we could fit 2 cars side by side, so the cars will not be stacked.
On the proposed garage you're talking about. On the proposed garage you're talking about.
Yes.
Part of the reason why I'm asking you about the garage is typically new construction garages are 10 feet minimum interior dimension. The 9'7", I'm not entirely sure you would even be able to fit a sedan in there and open the doors properly.
No, I have no intention of putting a car in there. It's going to 10-foot garage, and the smallest door you could get, a garage door is an 8-foot door. So with the 10-foot garage, you step in 12 inches on each side with the block and then have the 8-foot door.
Yep. But I also think that you're actually probably missing some stairs into this garage, so that might further encroach into your storage space. Because if this is a slab on grade and your mudroom is a framed floor, there's a little bit of a grade differential there. So you're probably losing some of that space. So that 21 feet, if you were ever to sell the house in the future with the intention of, or with the caveat that you have a parkable garage, that might be a little bit too small.
Am I reading these plans correctly, that the existing driveway is 18 feet wide at the curb side?
In the rear, not in the front. In the front of the driveway, it's a single car driveway. The existing driveway you're asking me about?
Yeah, it appears to be.
No, the existing
No.
driveway is like 20 feet wide. So it's bigger, the existing driveway in the back.
So it's things like, what's the width of the drive aisle in front? So,
I think 6, 9, 10.
I think typically our driveways, okay,
So that's back here? Yeah.
right. Well, my question was, it appears that at the curb, the driveway starts on the property line, and there appears to be a 18-foot marker to another word existing, which is,
That's 15.36.
mm,
He's referring closer to the street. There's a
Yeah.
18 foot.
That's the proposed. That's not existing.
I see 19.93. Going vertical, is that the?
nope, right underneath 19.93 is 18 feet, 0 inches. And it appears to go from the edge of the driveway on the right to what appears to be maybe a block wall or something on the left.
That's a porch.
Porch is now there at the curb.
What sheet are you on? You on A1?
I'm on A1.
You see the, one of the front property line, 55 feet?
Yes.
Right above that is 18 feet.
I don't have that. That's not, no, that's not existing. That's not existing.
Oh.
It's not existing that wide. It's not currently that wide.
Okay, but if it's not existing, it's proposed.
It's
Our limit is
proposed.
16.
What's that?
Limit for a driveway is 16.
Okay.
So that would have to either be variance or reduced to 16.
So what's the proposed width of the new driveway?
18. That's what's on, that's what you're asking me, right? That's what's on there?
Right.
Go from the property line to that, is that a curb line there, or is that a?
Well, it's going to be it's going to be a curb line cut in. The existing curb line is going to move over a little because we can't get into the back of the driveway anymore to park side by side. So I wanted to widen the driveway in the front so one car could park more to the left and the other could park to the right so we can all get out. I don't see that. I see that over here. Do you have that?
So I guess the question becomes at this point in time, if the maximum width of the driveway is going to be 18 feet, is that the size of the curb cut as well? The curb cut's going to be 18 feet?
I don't think I can get a curb cut that big. Right, is that correct?
The point we're trying to make.
That's the
No,
bump out.
right, the curb cut could be 16, that's fine. I'm just showing for the impervious that the driveway, once you get past the sidewalk on the property, is just slightly thin to 18 feet, so we can comfortably get out of our doors.
You may have to add an additional variance.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I don't know why I don't have that here. that big as
No, that makes sense, because stalls are now by 18 typically, so side by side would be.
But we have to assume that the impervious coverage calculation that's shown here includes that, yes? Makes sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So the plans haven't changed from anything that was submitted. It was,
No,
this
I
was just that the
haven't.
variance was not included.
Typically, we avoid approving driveways that aren't more than 6 inches. I believe the code is a foot from the property line, and usually never more than 16 feet wide.
Well, the right side of the driveway would remain as
I would
existing.
say that would be
That's not
existing.
moving. The block is staying. I'm just trying to infringe on my property just so we could comfortably get out because we both have SUVs with all kinds of kids hopping out. Just trying to bang the doors and.
Are there any other questions for the owner, or do we wish to move on to the planner? Okay. Is there anyone from the public who would have any questions of the owner? Seeing none.
Mr. Doherty, you're an expert, we're going to qualify you briefly as an expert in the field of planning. So where did you receive your degree from in planning?
So my education at Rutgers, Boston, with a master's in city and regional planning, a concentration in development, redevelopment, certification of public policy. I testify in this capacity on a weekly and daily basis. I'm currently the professional development officer for the APA New Jersey chapter. I've presented at league municipalities. This will be the first time in front of the Verona zoning board. My licenses are good and current. I'll be presenting at the planning and redevelopment conference shortly as well. I've been accepted in front of every board, and I've been licensed now. I think it's going on 4 to 5 years now.
And licensed in the state of New Jersey.
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Chairman, I would recommend that the board accepts you as an
No
expert in the
questions?
field of planning.
So accepted.
Thank you.
So for this evening, please, the board, I prepared an exhibit packet. Consists of 9 sheets, maps and photographs of the existing conditions, really for orientation purposes. Please, the board, I'll pass them out, and we'll mark it A1.
That'd be great. We're going to mark it A1 with today's date. So make it A1 for 11/24. And you said 9 sheets?
Yes, I have 9.
Thank you very much.
Okay. I think that's the same.
So I have a different section. If I check this one out, 150/12.4. It goes B. I think that's where we are. That's what we're going to find, like 16 feet. 14 or 16 is what I'm looking at, B2. I'm sorry, please continue. We're just arguing over your driveway variance.
So before the board is the Township of Verona zoning map. You'll see off in the upper left-hand corner, there's a black arrow illustrating approximately where the property in question is located on Goodwin Road. You'll see the orange and checkered area, and off to the right for the key map, you'll see we are in the R50B medium to high-density residential zone. As for orientations, this is where we're at within the municipalities. I'm sure many of the board members know exactly where this property is. What I want to point out is while we look at sheet 1 here, the property is kind of wedged between two additional zones here. We do have the red area, which is the R50, which is high density, and directly to the rear, we have the townhouse development, which was referred to earlier, the R40 zone, which is very high density. So we're kind of in the middle of two zones. And as we can see, coming off of Grove Avenue, past Dodd Terrace and Ann Street, that lighter orange, we are in the R60, which is medium. So from the public's perspective and coming back to this neighborhood, there are, whichever way you look at it, smack dab in the middle of the neighborhood is a different zone. On the way into the community, the neighborhood there, you pass through several other zones. So coming to the property in question, you kind of see a wider range of housing types, size, scales, and various designs. Particularly in this neighborhood, we have that to our rear, and we have that right across the street as well. So the next couple slides, if you will, are photos that I took of myself by visiting the property February 25th. Slide 2 is the property as it currently sits. As we can see, we have the porch, the overhang. We have the peaked points above the windows, some various designs, architectural features for the neighborhood. You see off to the left, it's more of a square box. So there's some architectural elements, but those to remain. The front facade really is to remain. The only new addition to the front feature, as discussed, is a relatively modest-sized garage. And we'll flip through. We'll see it's in good keeping with the character of the neighborhood. The garage, as you see off to the rear, with the basketball hoop in front, relatively close to the property line. We're going to reduce that, bring it closer to the property itself. The building, kind of attach it, have a cohesive structure by way of we talked about the mudroom, access points, and so forth. Slide 3, I take the drone up. We do a bird's eye view looking down, and we can get a real feel for just how big the existing garage is. The bump out for the driveway in the rear. As you can see here, there's some gravel off to the driveway in between the building, the residential house, and the driveway. That's kind of the area we're looking to capture for that additional bump out. As we've heard, that curb line that abuts our immediate neighbor is to remain exactly where it is. So what is to the rear, that small little bump out, we're kind of bringing that forward a little bit, that design feature element. But we can see exactly how close that garage is to the rear, the size, the scope. What I want to draw attention to the board as well is the rear patio in the back with the table set there, and really just how small the existing lawn is and usable space for a growing family in that rear yard. It is a nice neighborhood. It's not necessarily a cul-de-sac per se. There is one nearby, but at the end of the day, it's nice to have family access the property. So that rear addition we talked about, the additional 18 feet to the rear, is really right on that slab of pavers. As we've discussed, the garage is coming up forward, putting it right on the existing asphalt of the driveway that's there now. And everything off to the rear, we're kind of taking that up and restoring that back to permeable surface by way of lawn, usable lawn space. I do want to draw the attention to our immediate neighbor. As we see, we do have a shed right there. The property, the building itself kind of jogs in. Ideal location, if you will, for the garage as the structure itself, it's kind of going to stop right where the neighbor's main structure kind of jogs in. So we do have some elements of buffer by use of that property in their shed, as well as the white privacy fence. As we've heard, minimal windows on that side of the property for privacy. And with that being said, we'll kind of flip to the next slide, get a real bird's eye ground perspective of that backyard. Slide 4. So four photos. We'll start with the top left. We see we have the pavers, the rear yard there, and the playground set coming up the driveway with that slight jog for the side-by-side. The top right photo, we're kind of looking at that paver area, which is where the proposed rear addition is to be located on that existing pervious surface. Bottom left, a different perspective, and the bottom right. Bottom right is the usable space for the rear property. So with this application, bringing that garage out for a growing family, we really do open up that rear yard, and we reduce the size of that structure in the back. And we'll get to that relief in just a moment and some of the benefits there. Slide 5, you see the scale of the playground equipment and what's left of the yard. That's just that pocket yard there. And again, that garage that you see there is proposed to come down. Slide 6 is another bird's eye view, this time taken from the rear. Those are those giant arborvitaes that were just mentioned. You can kind of see them in the foreground for the privacy there. But as we kind of just envision where the vehicles are in the garage, that in the driveway, that would all be lawn. I wanted to note the neighbors again off to the left. As you see their patio and their porch, and when I was looking at this application and taking it into perspective, really what their enjoyment of their rear yard is kind of offset. It's not as if it's on this side of the property, closest to the property in question for the addition. I don't really foresee an issue given the shed and the location and where that garage is going to be as far as issues by way of casting shadows or really a true impediment of that adequate light air open space for the side yard setback. We are asking for some minor relief on that side. Again, the driveways to remain in place along that side, and I think it mirrors up nicely with that shed and that fence line and the way the existing conditions are on that property as to not really cause too much of a detriment here for that immediate neighbor. The last couple slides, what I did is I took a look at the neighborhood. Neighborhood compatibility, the integration, I think is an important aspect of this application. As we can see, there's a variety of housing types, housing styles. Across the street, we have some smaller houses. Then we have, directly across the street, a two-story. Kind of go off to the left a little bit, coming into Linwood Road. The houses have more of the common feature that we're seeking to have with the garage closer to the front. You can kind of see off in the back as Linwood kind of wraps around. Some of the houses actually have their garage doors open. So the feature itself to bring the garage closer is scattered throughout the neighborhood. So it wouldn't be so much out of character or the only house in the neighborhood that would have a garage along the front. Some of them are actually directly in front and a very common feature. And we can kind of see that in slide 8. A few of the houses do have garage access right up front. As we can see around the corner, we have a few driveways that are a little bit wider than that 16-foot narrative. So there is some variety here. And this is coming right into the neighborhood, which is closest to where the property is on Linwood versus wrapping around the back. Again, we can kind of see on the street behind us as Linwood wraps around. A lot of those houses as well on that side are a little bit larger and have the garage feature. And if we flip back to zone the table 1 with the zone chart, you'll kind of see that middle island or that pocket, if you will, is a different zone. The exterior is reflective of the zone that we're in. So we kind of have this hodgepodge or this blend, if you will. From the public realm, you really wouldn't know where one zone is and one start and stop. So I think we have a good marriage, a good blend here, good neighborhood compatibility with the existing built environment. We're certainly not out of character of what's happening directly across the street or within the immediate neighborhood zone plan, if you will. The last slide, slide 9, is the cul-de-sac, Clover Lane. As we see, a lot of those houses as well have the garage feature, some side-by-side parking, the driveway. If for orientation purposes of where the property is in question, if we kind of look off to the left on the road, you'll see the white car coming down the street. The property in question is right in front of that telephone pole. So when we talk about the immediate character of the neighborhood and coming in, this property as it's suited within the built environment in the neighborhood is closest to the properties that have these features versus being kind of off an island by itself. I felt it was necessary to show that to the board, the existing conditions for orientation purposes and illustrious purposes, because Verona is an established community, strong residential neighborhood pattern, cherished, and we certainly don't want to disrupt that fabric and that look. We do have some limitations. It's an older community, older homes, growing families that want to stay and retain their presence within the community, and that's kind of what we have here today. So coming before the board, we do have some relief that we're asking for. It sounds like a lot at face value, but there are some benefits with this application. With that being said, the engineer's memo outlined several of the variances in great detail. We do have some existing variances. These variances collectively fall under the C category, which is why we're before this board for the single family versus the planning board, which is site plan. So with that being said, the new variances that we're seeking, maximum building lot coverage, 25% is what's allowed. We're at 31.37. Impervious coverage, as we've heard, we are coming down on that. We have a 40% limitation in the zone, and we would be at 42.69. We're reducing a little over 800 square feet of impervious coverage, which that is, I think, is a positive here. I believe recently, not too long ago, this property was before this board seeking impervious coverage relief. We're kind of dialing back, getting closer to what the zone calls for. So I think this is a superior plan for a common problem with a growing family is the size of the house. And in that regards, we do have the side yard setback as it relates to bringing that garage forward. As we saw, the garage is fairly large. We're going to reduce that to a modest size. We are asking for relief for a 5-yard setback, 5-foot setback versus the required 8. As we saw with the drone shots, I really do feel like it's an appropriate location given the existing structure and the way that property is used. To ask, if we were to ask relief, I think it would be the appropriate side on that side. Again, I do think it's a de minimis request. The driveway is to remain, and we're just bringing that feature a little closer to the dwelling. With that, we have a combined side yard setback where 18 is required. And given that we are asking for some relief, we are seeking the 12.17 versus the 18. So they're kind of intertwined there. And we have some existing conditions on the site. Minimum lot area is 7,500 square feet. We do have an undersized lot. We're at 7,051 square feet. That would fall under your existing C1 hardship. We can't cure that deficiency. As you saw, it's a built environment. Nobody's giving up any property to kind of to help us out there. We have a front yard setback, 30 feet is required, or 19.3. As you see, it's a built neighborhood pattern. We're not changing. We're not bringing that house any closer. We're not, taking the face of that off and pushing the building back. It's an established neighborhood pattern. But again, nonetheless, 13 was the envision, and the house falls, as many others do, the prominent setback around that 19, 20-foot mark. So with that being said, this relief falls under the C2. For the collective of it, we can balance it out where the benefits of this application as a whole would substantially outweigh any detriment. By virtue of those benefits, we reduce that impervious coverage. When we look at the community and what the direction it's going with development and so forth, I think if we can add back impervious coverage, reduce the number of trees coming down, that's a benefit for the community collectively. Here we're adding back that permeable surface, that yard for a growing family, a healthy family, utilizing that outside space. By virtue of the driveway itself, if we will, that would also be a variance we would be seeking. We would like to keep that existing layout for the side-by-side. Typical commercial stalls are 9x18, so we put them side-by-side. That's where you're getting the 18-foot width. I don't think that's a substantial detriment or out of character with what we're seeing on newer development patterns. In that regards, the impervious coverage is still coming down. That design for the property, if you will, is to capture that dead space, if you will, that space between the driveway and the house, to kind of fill that void in, which is currently rock and unusable space from a residential standpoint, to add for it a better circulation for the property. When I look at this project as a whole, we're adding a great deal of investment to the property. The addition is taking part in the rear. We're not changing that face of that property to alter the character of the neighborhood. We're putting on existing pavers, making more efficient use of already impervious surface. In that regards, it's positive investment into the site, which should also be felt throughout the neighborhood. We have an older community where we're keeping these structures and we're renovating them, bringing them to more common building and living arrangements. and it comes with its challenges. We have an undersized lot. If, we had the additional square footage, some of these variances would be, to a lesser degree. The relief that we're seeking, for the most part, the impervious coverage exists there on site. Again, as I stated, a little over 800 square feet of that is coming off the property into lawn. And given this arrangement, it's a superior arrangement for a growing family. I don't believe going forward there would be any real room to build out this property any further for a family. This is about as much as this property can carry from a residential standpoint, and I think it's still in keeping with the character of that neighborhood. It's not going to be overdevelopment. Again, that addition's happening to the rear, as you see on a lot of the aerials. A lot of the houses have that rear addition, if you will, and some of them are a lot smaller in their existing built environment. I believe all of this collectively advances the purpose of the municipal land use law, purpose A, G, I, and M. Particularly I as a desirable visual environment, more efficient use of land. And when we look at purpose A for the welfare of the community collectively and values, we are a permitted use, a single family detached dwelling. We're keeping that use on site. We're enhancing the intent of that zone, which is detached residential, for family use and residential, and finding a more efficient, superior layout for modern problems, which is the growing need of a family. Today's market, nobody really wants to go out and move and look for a house. Kind of got to stay put for a while. This kind of helps us keep a longstanding member of the community within the municipality. Why we've heard the children are very young. We do have side by side. We do have a little bit of depth to the driveway. If the family were to remain, I believe we do have some additional accommodations for a vehicle in the near future. But nonetheless, it is a quiet neighborhood. It serves the family well. And with that, when I look at the negative standpoint here, I don't believe the application will cause substantial detriment. We have that reduction of impervious coverage. When I look at additions on existing properties, one of the things, a quick background napkin test I'd like to look at is what is your impervious coverage? In this particular case, it's actually coming down, which doesn't happen too often. So from a negative standpoint, additions in existing neighborhoods, I look at the impervious coverage. Talking with the applicant and expressing concerns and reading through the ordinance and the master plan, environmental concerns, flooding in that regards is a huge concern. New state requirements for the tree removal process as well. No trees are coming down. In fact, talking with the applicant, where that garage is proposed to be is to be a garden, a small modest garden. As we've heard, the landscaping as well. We want to continue that retaining wall feature and plantings for the property. The overall application from a negative standpoint in talking with the applicant is his property does not flood. It does, there's some pumps are dry.
There's not pumps, they're pits.
Pits, I'm sorry. So with that being said, knowing that we're taking over 800 square feet off impervious surface off, the pits are dry. And in that regards, I don't see any substantial detriment by way of changing stormwater patterns and runoff features. The driveway curb line exists. We're not touching that curb line. So in my opinion, though I am not an engineer, and I'll put that on the record, I don't foresee any adverse effects by way of stormwater runoff. If anything, we are making that driveway in the rear, we're taking that out, which is impervious. I would confidently believe that they would be a net positive to the use and enjoyment of the neighbor's rear yard, getting that asphalt out of the rear yard area. So with that, I'll conclude. The application as a whole is a modest addition, really taking place in the rear, making better arrangement use of the property for a growing family. The relief would fall under the C2, benefits outweighing the detriments. I do not see any substantial detriment. I say that I believe the board can look at this application comfortably, and I believe the statute and criteria has been met, and approval would be warranted.
Good presentation.
Thank you.
I imagine the board has some questions for our planner. I would like to start with one. There appears to be an air conditioning unit as you face the house on the right side. Where is that going to move to?
It's gonna have to go in the rear.
Yeah.
Town codes, when the construction drawings are done. So it has to be 10, I believe 10 feet off the property, 8 feet. So it's gonna have to go somewhere.
You have to move to the rear.
Probably tuck it behind the rear.
I'm not
but-
gonna have a choice.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a good eye.
I hate these aerial views because the neighbor over here, his shed is too close to the property.
I'm not trying to throw anyone under the bus, but I
The
look
neighbor
at
down
that.
here
And
swimming
the two
pool is in the
condensers
rear
are
yard
right under,
setback.
our two condensers are right under our bedroom window. So anytime, and she keeps them on from November 1st, and they kick on Memorial Day. So anytime we try and open the window, we're like, let's get some fresh air, she must keep her house at 62. They run all the time. I would never shoot it.
The aerials sometimes actually get the client in trouble.
As per your question, I knew I was gonna have to move them by code when the construction plans went in. I no, it's not part of the variance proposal, so I didn't.
But
Yeah, it usually is, yeah. You usually have to document that
Okay.
as well.
where things are going to end up.
Okay.
If the board were to deem this application favorably, we could maybe put that as a condition to revise the plans to reflect the AC system that's just being moved to a new location to make sure they are in
It's
compliance.
10 feet off the property line. Excuse me, do you know if it's 10 feet or 8 feet? Because,
It's actually whatever the side yard setback is.
which is 8 on the, okay, so it's 8 on the left then.
She actually,
Or if it's a pre-existing non-conforming condition, then it's that plane.
Okay.
And if we approve 5 feet, probably be behind the garage at 5 feet. Because we're resetting the,
Right, thank you.
It looks like you have a good-sized patio now.
Yes,
Are you comfortable with the dimensions of this new proposed patio?
yes, we don't really spend too much time there. We don't sit there. I'm just gonna put like a little table or a couch and something.
Okay, so you don't anticipate any other impervious coverage outside of this footprint?
I don't.
I have a question related to, and I don't know if you know the history of this neighborhood, but almost, there are so many houses and properties that have their garage in the back. I mean, like literally, you look at Google Maps and it's like in the back, in the back, in the back, in the back.
Right.
And what that does is it forces the parking in the back, which then tends to provide a little bit of, negative space in the front yards, which kind of visually sort of declutters the street. So I'm wondering if that was an intent behind the design of the neighborhood to do that, because these are such small lots. And by granting this variance, would we sort of be going against that idea? And I don't know if you could speak to that in other.
I don't think I can speak to the history and design elements of the neighborhood and the community collectively, because it's a common feature throughout Verona, the parking behind the house. I will say from a planning standpoint in a residential neighborhood, I grew up in my backyard. I think times have changed, designs and, lifestyles have changed. Nonetheless, I've also seen throughout communities, not necessarily particularly Verona, the structures in the rear were always, a workshop, an old barn. So, I mean, it's relic of a different time, and a different use and style and use of the property. And I think when I looked at this neighborhood, that was one of my concerns is this out of character? And to my surprise, right when you come in this neighborhood, that's the design of the neighborhood. Now, what makes this application, as I mentioned during testimony, in this property, I think work here is it's closer to that entrance of Linwood Road versus, in the older part of that as it wraps around the bend. So I think it's right where it needs to be as far as in the context of the neighborhood.
All of Clover Lane, as you pull onto Linwood Road, those first 4 houses on the right all have the garage in the front. The entire cul-de-sac of Clover Lane have the garage in the front. And if you were to stay left on Linwood, not come to the immediate right, all that entire left side, as you get up to the crest, has the garage in front. And one of our vehicles will be far enough back where it's not in the front of the house per se, because the garage is starting about, I want to say, like 18 feet back from the front corner of the house.
And though the driveways do go to the rear, there's nothing really preventing somebody today from parking at the curb line.
Clarify that, please?
Like the mouth, the apron of the driveway.
Right.
So the discussion was the intent and design of the neighborhood, having that in the rear to keep the vehicles into the rear and behind the structures. And my point was, though we have that option, doesn't necessarily mean people can't park at the apron on their property and having that vehicle in that public view, if you will.
Actually, Verona has an ordinance on the books, which is unenforced, that says that you can't park your car in front of the front facade of your house.
Okay, I retract that. Do apologize.
Yes, we don't enforce it, and we usually use the Verona, it's referred to as the Verona hang, when your cars don't fit all the way in the driveway and they hang over the sidewalk, but they're not supposed to. And one of the things that we do when we're enforcing is we explain to people that the street right-of-way actually is probably a foot up onto their lawns or their paved driveways on the other side of the sidewalk. So that's not even technically their property.
Yeah, it's right away, public right away, yes.
Right.
Yes, so I would go to your question. That might have been the intent of that design. If that you have the Verona hang ordinance and parking in front of your facade. This is sure it's not enforceable, but I think overall the character of that design is in keeping with this neighborhood. And our driveway extends, 30 feet back?
No, it's further.
Further, right, yeah, so I don't foresee the Verona hang happening with 2 vehicles.
That's probably when there's 1 car per household.
Yeah.
50 years ago.
Probably don't want to walk down the driveway.
Okay. Anyone else have questions for the planner?
I just have a quick question. How many cars maximum do you think you'd be able to park in your driveway in the proposed condition? Not counting moving vehicles, maximum, what do you think?
4.
4.
Without.
Yeah, right, not, if you had a jockey cars.
I measured, because listen, I grew up on Linden Avenue in a single car driveway, so
Yeah.
we were always shuffling cars.
Very common.
Linden Avenue is a busy street. You lose your mirror in about 30 seconds parked on Linden Avenue. So it was thought out where the front of the garage is. We could stack 3 cars if we ever had to, and then 1 off to the left. That's the reason for the little width in the
Thank you.
front. Do you mind if I just ask a question on kind of unrelated with that 16-foot driveway thing? It seems, and just maybe they all got variances, but right behind me on Durrell, it seems like those driveways are extremely wide. Everybody has these monster SUVs next to each other in all those new homes on there. Was that something that was a variance, or is that, I just never heard that before?
That's a good question, because that was approved by the planning board. Sometimes they take liberties, which we then have to deal with. But one of the discussion, all the shuffling up here is maximum width. No access, let's see if I can find, access drives or driveways for one-family dwellings shall be not more than 14 feet wide at the curb line for single driveways or 16 feet wide for double driveways.
And that's Verona Code Section 150-12.4.b parens 2.
So that's
Say it again for you, Alex.
at the curb line.
150-12.4.b parens 2. So we're going to add that to your list of variances, and
We'll
you
make sure
testify to it.
If it's approved, we include that as well.
Of course.
So is the interpretation of that, once you get past that 14-foot curb cut, you could widen out to whatever you would like?
16.
16
And you're 18.
at the curb?
Right.
Okay.
And you can't really widen it out to whatever you like. It's
Well, if you had a 16, I'm just asking, if you had a
Yeah.
16-foot curb cut, could you, if you have a two-car garage? in the
Could
back,
you do
could
once
widen
you
it
get
to
on,
20
once you get onto
once you
your
get on the
property?
property?
No, you can't.
No. We're saying they don't want the driveways wider than
That's there
16.
too.
Oh.
14
at
at
the
the curb.
curb. Yes, 14 at the curb, 16 total.
It's just,
Here.
Right.
14 foot wide at the curb line, 16 foot for double driveways. So I think the variance is 14 feet. I think it would be 16 for double, so it'd be 16 curb cut, 16 width.
so
When they say access drive, they mean the driveway going back to the garage.
Right.
That's the interpretation.
So am I currently in violation because my driveway is 20 feet wide in the back of that, or because my curb cut's 12, is it okay? That's what I'm unclear on.
I would just like to put out there, the way I heard that was singles 14, if it's double, because it mentions the curb line at 14, if double 16.
Yeah, 16 curb cut, I think 16 drive
Right,
too.
but in our way to interpret that, that means the entire length of the driveway is to be that same dimension?
I think it could be, yeah.
Okay, all right, so that's the
Because the
interpretation.
smallest garage door you could get is 8 feet wide. If you had a double driveway, 8 feet, you know you have to have a foot or two in between. Right there, you're at 18 to 20 feet on the driveway.
It's the interpretation.
Okay. It's not physically possible.
Sometimes that's unfortunate, yeah, I've come across sometimes on
And-
paper.
You know, your house might have been built before this version of the ordinance. This ordinance was passed, I would say, about 10 years ago now. This might have been a newer,
My driveway's narrow. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have one driveway. Existing.
well, in the rear.
I would say it's
you do.
definitely narrower than, it's the same size as your neighbor to the east.
I'm concerned that the lack of language that emphasizes the continuous driveway in the rear is not in there. I interpret here, your interpretation is what matters, that is to be at the curb line. Because there's nothing indicative of language that reflects that narrative going to the rear yard or, you know, in that regards. But it's your interpretation that holds the weight here. But we will ask for that variance as I testified to, and if it's approved, we will put that on the zoning table. Again, the impervious coverage is coming down, which I think is a net positive. Yeah. Yeah. We just didn't notice for it. Yeah.
And just to go on record, the impervious coverage calculation that's on here is indicative of that 18-foot
Yes.
width. That is
correct.
accounted for, okay.
And the statement that backs that up, number 5 here, no parking shall be permitted in any required minimum front yard or side yards except in the driveway in said yard. So when we say the driveway, where it says the driveway has to be 16, that's, no parking is permitted outside of that, so you couldn't just make it wider. Any more questions for our planner? Does the public have any questions of our planner? Hearing none? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I believe.
Yes.
Right, I mean, it's good, that's 6 months old.
Where were the new roof leaders putting?
So, yeah, we're draining that grade.
Yeah, my concern is that I think it should go to resolution, roof leaders should not be directed to neighboring property.
They will not
No,
be.
they will not.
So that you don't have any flooding from the neighbors from your house.
They will not. And again, I kept the sump pump in my basement for like 5 years, and then somebody had an emergency, and I went probably about 7 years ago and gave them that sump pump, and I get so little water that I don't even have a sump pump that I could put in if I had a problem. We have cobwebs. I have 2 pits, and they have cobwebs in them.
Does it go to pits now?
And
Do you
if
ever
we-
see these pits now?
No, I have 2 sump pits, and they have cobwebs in them. We've been getting some crazy rain.
But the leaders can be designed to not direct in that regards. And then in adjacent neighborhood, we still have a curb line as well. So any real runoff from the leader would still be on the driveway going down. Agreed. Yeah.
If there are no members of the public who would like to make a statement on this particular application, I would move to close, I would entertain a motion to close public participation and move to board deliberation. Thank you, good. Just a little more noise. Okay, folks, we're looking at 5 variances. Let's kind of, maybe we can take them in the order that they're here. Well, the mechanics of if we approve this, it comes with a driveway width variance to go to 18 feet. Is there any real discussion on that? 16 is a max, you can go to 18. Okay, so that's not really a pinch point. The improved lot coverage has been 40%, it's down to 42.69. Is that within a ballpark that we could find acceptable? I mean, that's like 2%.
And it's a fairly
And it's-
sizable reduction from the current.
From the current. Okay.
On the application,
Yeah.
the application states 56.07 as the existing lot coverage.
Yeah. So that's an improvement. Okay. How about, it's a little bit more, but the lot coverage, the proposed lot coverage exceeds the maximum permitted by 6, not quite 6.5%. That's a fairly big increase. I mean, it's a 20% increase in what's available. However, there is some reduction probably that goes along with that too. What kind of numbers there would be? The lot coverage?
Yeah. No,
20, no,
it's,
but
so it's an increase because
It's an increase.
They're removing some of the driveway, the garage, putting the building, putting the extension on. But it's also an undersized lot, so that kind of works against them from a percentage building coverage standpoint.
okay.
I don't see. Is it an undersized lot?
It's 77,051, what is 7,500 required?
Yes.
Got it.
And I don't see that I don't see that it's too dissimilar to a number of houses in the neighborhood.
So that doesn't appear to be a pinch point either. All right, we have to find one here someplace. East yard setback of 5 feet doesn't comply with the 8 feet required. It's not on the property line. What are thoughts on that reduction? Because that's going to roll into our combined yard setback, because the other side, we're not changing. Go ahead.
Yeah, so my thoughts on it, yes, it's, it's cutting down, so on the side yard, it seems like the plan was thought out in such a way that the start of it is at basically where it's encroaching, it would be at the end of the neighbor the end of the neighbor's house that would be most impacted by it. And I know the 5 foot would then carry the whole property line, but if they were to do anything else to that property, they'd have to come back in here because they would increase both probably the lot coverage as well as the improved lot coverage and the building coverage. So yes, it is, a little closer to the property line. Still seems like it's fairly similar to some other things in the neighborhood. As I mentioned, if they do anything else, it would have to come back in front of us. And as the applicant testified with the windows, there's really just basically going to be one small window, so privacy from that aspect would not really be an issue.
Anybody else? Because that can wrap up two.
I'm a little bit torn with this one. I feel in general that this neighborhood is just so crammed to begin with. And this is going to exacerbate that a little bit.
You were here for last month's discussion with the two garages.
I was not.
You were not. Okay, the discussion we had with the two garages and the concern was the consistent frontage.
Right.
Looking like it was house, the two garages on either side of the house, all garage, all house, all garage, next house. Which kind of made the street, in this case Fairview Avenue, look like townhomes. That's one of the things that we usually try to avoid when we're making approvals is we try to avoid the house, no space, house. I grew up in Newark where it was house, driveway, house, driveway, house, driveway.
That's what this is.
And that's kind of the way Linwood was put together. I know my in-laws avoided buying a house in there when they moved into town because the houses were so close together, so they bought one just as close on Morningside Road. At least there's, I'd say at least you've got the green space on the side. You know. It's going to put the house, and don't forget, our position has to not only be for you and your current neighbors, but when, you know, when they become rich and move out, whoever's going to move in there, they'll see that it could be detrimental to them selling their house if the house is so, the house next door is so close. Not a big concern, but a concern. But I guess moving back, how does everybody feel about the 5 feet in lieu of 8 feet?
I'm okay with it as it's presented in the designs and plan, mainly because the 5 feet, it does start back.
All right. Okay. So I'm looking at 6 variances that appear to be workable. These numbers are reasonably small. The lot is somewhat undersized for its neighborhood. 5 variances.
4 stated plus the drive 5.
Okay.
I also have 5, Scott, so thank you.
Do we want to count the existing lot area as a variance we're seeking?
No, we have several existing conditions, and what we'll do is we'll include them in the resolution, but we won't discuss them as
Okay.
as
Apologies.
as variances that need to be approved. But thank you.
So I count 5 as well.
Good.
I got 6 because I had the AC in
Oh,
line for conditions. Okay, so I'm looking at 5 variances. Is there anyone feels comfortable to move this application in one direction or the other?
I'll make a motion to approve application 2024-03.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Dr. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Kathleen, can we have a roll call vote? Oh, wait, we did have that condition on there, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I have 2 conditions, and just to make sure we're on the same page here. So the condition certainly mentioned by our engineer that roof leaders shall not be directed towards neighboring properties. And the other condition was potential condition if the board sees fit that the applicant will submit revised plans showing that the HVAC condenser units are moved to the rear yard in conformity with the Verona zoning ordinance.
Council, and to update the zoning table for the parking driveway.
Of course. And a third condition, they're going to update the zoning table to incorporate that last variance that we noticed for the maximum driveway width. 16 feet required, 16 feet permitted, 18 feet is proposed.
Now, are we good with that motion? If we may have the roll call vote?
Dr. Reese?
Yes.
Mrs. DiBartolo?
No.
Mr. Cortez?
Yes.
Vice Chair Weston?
Yes.
Chairman McGinley?
No. By my count, the motion passed. We will draft up a resolution at our next meeting, and that's when you can commence with the project.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations, folks.
Thank you.
No problem. For the record, one of our board members, Christy DiBartolo, is going to recuse herself for this application due to a conflict of interest. Thank you very much. So we will be, we'll be
Does
for.
that mean we can still? do we still-
Absolutely, still have a quorum, and we're still able to present as long as you're okay with 4 members.
I still need 3 either way, right?
Correct. No. You do need 3.
Oh, it doesn't really matter.
While you guys are getting comfortable, I do want to make mention that I have reviewed the legal notices that were both published and mailed to property owners within 200 feet. The notices are proper, and the board does have jurisdiction to hear this application. So let's, let's swear you both in if we could. Great. Would you state your names for the record?
Christine Miseo, M-I-S-E-O,
And your,
architect.
thank you.
Stephen Marscovetro. Would you like me to spell that?
I would like you to stay standing, both of you, be so kind. Thank you. And please do spell it.
Marscovetra.
And do you swear that the testimony you're about to give tonight is going to be the truth?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you both. Please get started.
Okay. We're ready to go?
Okay. I have testified before this board before. It's been a couple years. I don't know if you need me to go through my qualifications.
If you would just give the board a brief overview of your education, your qualifications, for the benefit of the board, so we can qualify you.
Graduated from Illinois Institute of Technology, a Bachelor of Architecture in 1981. Have been licensed since 85. So it's almost 40 years. I've been before this board before, I've been before other boards. I sat on the planning board in Livingston for a number of years. And my fees are paid and my license in good standing.
I would, Mr. Chairman, I would ask that the board accepts Ms. Miseo as an expert in the field of architecture.
Thank you.
No problem, accept.
As long as that red light's lit,
Yep.
you're good.
I assume
it was heard what I said? I think I
It was.
brought up. We're here tonight for a number of variances, very similar to the application before us. We are adding an addition, a two-car garage to the left side of our property at 45 Montrose Avenue, and above that is a master suite. The variances we requested are not necessarily the variances that we are going to go for tonight. We've had a discussion as we were sitting listening, and we'd like to amend some of our variances. One would be that we would require no deck size variance, that we would have the deck be less than 540 square feet, which is would be 20% of the 2715 of the principal structure. And the other variance that we were looking to lessen would be the width of the driveway, that we would be doing 16 feet at the curb, but we would need 19 feet at the garage itself, since we are doing two 9-foot garage doors and we'll have a foot in between, and it would be tough to end the driveway inside of the garage doors. So, like I said, our curb cut will be the 16 feet, and then we will flare to 19 feet. So that lessens that variance. And I think those are the only two that we would be modifying. The variances that we are requesting, the front yard setback requirement is 30 feet, and we're requesting 24.67 feet because we are looking to put on a 6-foot front porch. The principal structure will still maintain the 30-foot setback, but we did want to add a front porch to the house. The requirement for the ordinance is 5 feet, but it also is limited with the square footage, and we wanted the porch to go across the front of the house, the main portion of the house. Our right side setback is also a variance. 8 feet is required. We have a proposed of 6.67 feet, and that is because there is a notch in the back of the house where an addition was put on originally, and it makes the back room very awkward because we're taking walls down, and we just wanted to square off that portion of the corner, so then that gives us the 6.67 proposed. Our combined yard setback, 19.5 feet is required because we're squaring things off. And with our addition, though the addition does maintain the 8 foot on the left side, it's 15.25 feet versus the 19.5 feet required. Also, another variance that we are requesting is deck height. Right now, the existing deck is 6 feet. The backyard drops dramatically. We have a walkout basement in the back, and so there are portions of the deck that's very close to the house on the left side that will be 6 feet. The rear right side of the deck is not, it's only going to be about 4 feet, but because there are some areas, the way the land slopes, we will be over 6 feet.
Do we know how much over? What's the max?
6 feet. So our 2 foot, we're
So
requesting a 2 foot variance.
Got it. Thank you.
And then the height of the structure, 30 feet is required, and we are 32.25 feet. And that is also because of the steep slope in the back of the property. I anticipate that all of you had a chance to drive by and you were able to walk around and see how the property drops dramatically to the rear, and the back is walkout to the rear. And like I said, the other variance would be the driveway width that we are modifying to have a lesser variance.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm counting 6 before we get going. Let's go over. So we're going to get rid of our deck size variance, so that's not going to be a variance.
Correct.
We have the driveway width that we noticed. It's going to be 19 feet where 16 is permitted. Front yard setback is 30 feet required, 24.67 is proposed.
Yes,
Okay. Right side setback, 8 feet required, 6.67 proposed.
yes,
Combined, 19.5 required, 15.25 combined proposed.
yes,
Deck height, 4 feet permitted, 6 feet at the max proposed. And total height of the structure, 30 feet permitted, 32.25 proposed.
correct.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Glad we got that out of the way.
Yeah, I figured it was easier just to list the variances up front.
Appreciate it.
Oh, and you know what, that's another, my client just brought up that the smaller deck may also alleviate the variance, or at least some of it, because we won't be going out as far. And right now, the first floor elevation is 106.8, and the deck is going out to about 101.
So that deck height variance, it may not go to 6 feet full.
Right, and if we bring the deck in considerably, the max variance we'd be requesting is 1 foot variation.
Thank you.
Thank you for reminding me. But I just wanted to let you know that with bringing the deck in, that will lessen our variance.
Please continue.
Okay. So the addition that we are adding, right now, this is mainly a 2-car garage. That is the bulk of the addition. There is no garage on this property, and the driveway is in the front yard, so the cars get parked in the front yard. If we do get this driveway, that will alleviate, which I just found out tonight, a discrepancy or with the ordinance, because you're not supposed to park in the front yard. But my clients are anticipating using the garage for parking. They have a truck and they also have an SUV, and that was the reason for the extra width of the driveway, the garage doors, and the garage overall. And they, like I said, they wanted to be able to use that garage fully. Above that garage, what we are adding is a master bedroom suite. And we are also reworking the existing second floor that has many dormers and very low ceilings. So the master suite addition is approximately 29 by 22.8, and that includes walk-in closets, a nice-sized bedroom, and a large master bath. There's also a vestibule area on the first floor that will connect the garage with the main house, and that will encompass an entry and steps up to the second floor. On the second floor, that area, which is approximately 8 feet wide, will encompass the laundry room and then the steps down to the first floor. And that will be the connector between the old house and the new house. As you can see from my page A1 and the front elevations, the front elevation with the photos, you can see that there are a number of homes in the neighborhood. The house directly to the right of this home does not have a front porch, but a number of the other houses do. A couple doors to the left, there's a full front porch. A couple doors to the right, there's a full front porch. And you can tell that the main houses are all pretty much set at that 30-foot line. So any porticos or front porches are definitely within that front yard setback. Whether they received approvals in the last few years, though some of these front porches look like they've been there for 40 years. Might have been prior to the zoning.
1956.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Well, you know what, there's a couple of these houses might have been built before 56. Number 51 especially.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I believe the subject property was built before 1956 also, probably right post-war. Anyway, so, but as you can see from the pictures, there are other houses that do have front porches. It will soften the front of this house a little bit with the front porch also. We wanted it to be a nice open porch, possibly standing seam ceiling. I think that's going to be a real budget issue. And then a large dormer to the right that'll encompass the 2 kids' bedrooms. Their ceilings will still be sloped on either side of their room, but the majority of the room will have a full 8-foot ceiling. We have a small dormer in the middle above the main doors, and that window is the laundry room on the 2nd floor, and then a medium-sized dormer over the garage, which is set back, so it's not like you're looking at a big 2-story addition on top of the existing garage. It's going to be mostly roofed with just a dormer in the middle. So the sides of the rooms of the master bedroom will also be sloped to tie into an attic type room. That's pretty much on the, for the front. And then A2, you can see what the side and the rear yards, that the property drops. We have a daylight basement, and to be able to have the deck walk out in the back, we are close to 6 feet out of the ground. And we have added windows to the back and a number of windows to the front to make it more aesthetically pleasing and tie in with the neighborhood. Go through everything. We did submit a full engineering plan with drainage, and we received a letter back from the Environmental Commission. We had used hard materials to capture the stormwater management, for stormwater management, and they had asked for a green infrastructure. So what we are going to do is modify as much as we can with rain barrels and rain management that way to do rain gardens, bioswales, and then also they had requested natural or native trees and native plants to be planted in gardens to be able to soak up the extra water. One thing that they did request that will be very difficult is they had requested a permeable pavement area. The driveway, even though it's wide, it's not that long. And my client's children play basketball, and open pavers that grass are coming through isn't going to cut it. So they would prefer to keep regular pavement in the front instead of the permeable. But we will do other dry wells and bioswales to try to soak up most of our difference in impervious coverage. We are requesting C1 variances for this project. The topography of this lot and the shape of the house, or I should say the way this house is set on this lot, are hardships. The house is not square to the property lines. The house is twisted, which if it wasn't twisted, I would be fine with my combined side yards, and I wouldn't need any side yards. But because I'm picking up the two narrowest points, because of the house is skewed on the property. So that is one hardship in terms of how the house was originally set. Another hardship is the topography of the house. The topography is such that it kicks in my height variance and also my deck height variance, because the property from the front the front of the lot is approximately 102, but the house is set at 106.8, so the house is up quite a bit already. And then my backyard is about 90, between 99 and 100. So there is a dip going down, and then the far corner, as the lot goes farther, goes down to 95, 94. So there is about a 9-foot drop from the front of the lot to the back of the lot. I know that there was a bit of an issue with in the previous application with the combined side yard setback. In the front of the house, we do maintain more of the 8-foot, we have 8'6" on the left, and we have 9.6 on the right. So we do maintain what would be our side yard setbacks. It's just the far back corner that is short because of trying to square off the back room. I don't believe, if you take a look at the elevation, I think we've done a really nice job in terms of the design of the front, not making the roof look like it's a big 2-story box on top of a box. Most of the second floor is dormered, and within the dormers. So I don't feel that this addition, even though it is a little bit higher than what is required by the ordinance, I don't believe it is substantial detriment. I think it's pretty. I think it would be an asset to the neighborhood. I believe it would also increase the property values. There are other homes on the street that have had other large additions, and they have, of course, increased the property values, knowing that people can see when they go put them up for sale what other homes can go for and what you can do with some of these homes. I don't believe that these variants will substantially impair the intent and the purpose of the municipal zoning plan or ordinance. And as I said, one objective was to try to incorporate green infrastructure, and my clients are very much in favor of that also. I don't know if you have any questions.
So just back to the elevation of the property.
Mhm.
So from the street on Montrose, it actually goes up a little bit to where the house is, and then in the backyard, that's when you have the, I would say, more significant drop?
Yes.
Okay, so it's like the house is on a
On a
plateau.
hill, yeah. Plus, they raised it up another 4 feet, which is like a little nutty. There's a lot of steps up to the house. And the basement's dry, totally dry, isn't it?
Yeah, well, one spot where the chimney is, but that's not.
Well, that's not
a
a
chimney
grading,
issue.
that's not a grading issue.
Other than that, it's bone dry even when we have, was it Ida or whatever?
Yeah, I don't understand why they raised the house that high. They did. I, yeah, I guess if you take a look, the houses to the left are raised up that much too. I don't, if we take a look at the pictures, they have quite a few steps up too. You know, builder set one line, who knows, you know, when they did it. And then the houses to the right are just a step or two down, and then farther, just two up, and then the next one is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 steps up again. So they're all over the place.
That's when the street flattens a little bit. The
Yeah,
houses
they-
are low over the top.
Yeah.
That's it.
I just have a simple little question.
Sure.
This is a true New England Cape Cod, this house.
Yes.
It's a beautiful, beautiful house. You sure you want to put a porch out in front of it? I just, you know, your rooms are going to be darker as a result of that, but I was just looking at it from that point of view.
The rooms in the front of the house, one is my office actually, and the other is our dining room that we, with 3 little kids, don't really get to use too often anyway, so I'm not overly, the view is out the back because we have the trees and we have the overflow parking lot for OLL, so the view is really out the back. That's why
The other reason we put the porch on, or at least I did, was what I was afraid is if we did the dormers in the front, the large dormers in the front to make the 2 bedrooms in front usable, because right now, if you look at the picture of the subject property, which is on the far right on page A1, there's 2 tiny dormers. Those are the kids' bedrooms. So you've got real angled ceilings, and the only area that's at all usable is at the far wall towards the center of the house, and then you've got these skinny little dormers. What I was afraid is if I did put the larger dormer, which you need to have 2 decent-sized bedrooms for the kids, without the porch, I was worried it would look too massive. And because it's an open porch, I thought it would soften it and you just wouldn't have that sheer piece. So I really felt that it was an improvement to have the porch to soften the front of the house. And like I said, and the front of the house isn't even like the one next door. If you take a look at 43 Montrose, they did a very similar kind of addition, but it's a box on top of a box with just a little pent roof running around. And that's exactly what I didn't want it to look like. I wanted, the addition we're doing over the garage is set back quite a bit, and like I said, it's mostly roof line with a dormer in the middle. We didn't want this look. And I also felt with adding the porch, it softened the right side too.
But your addition is going to be flush with the front of the house, is it not, or is it coming forward?
The addition upstairs in the kids' rooms is flush with the front of the house, but the master bedroom is set back, the box bay is set back about 3 feet, and then there's another that's angled, that's where the roof continues up. So the first 6 feet of the room on either side of that box bay is angled ceilings. So it's not coming to the front of the garage. So like I said, the front of my dormer is a little over 3 feet back from the front of the garage. And with the overhangs, it will appear about 4.5 feet back, because with just the natural overhang around the house. So Betsy usually took the porch, and we did what we did.
So I know you mentioned, I believe you actually said that the house was not set along with the, it was not a, I don't know exact word you said, like askew from the property lines, but it's almost like the house is set kind of appropriately for the street. It's the property lines that are not necessarily parallel to the street that they're.
Yeah, I blame the
set at an angle.
engineer who set up the subdivision. You know what, every once in a while when I do design a new house and I have side yards that are slightly askew of the front, what I try to do is follow the side yards. First off, it makes it easier for the mason and whoever's digging the hole. And then I would have some relief in the front to make up the difference. So in other words, instead of the house looking like it's on an angle, there'd be a piece of the house that would be a little bit closer to make up that differential. With the house being turned just this little bit, it's just enough to be annoying. It's like 3 feet. Almost 4, 3.7.
And is it is just the notch on the right-hand side that I guess that,
Yes.
you know, a little
And-
bit, that's what's causing both side yard variances? The
Yeah.
one side yard and then the combined?
Yes.
Yeah, and just, she didn't mention, but we only want to punch it out on the first floor, not the second floor, so it wouldn't impact that.
And we're not doing it in the basement either. We were going to literally just try to cantilever possibly with just a post if required. So there wouldn't be any foundation built and it wouldn't be upstairs either. But it would just make that living room so much more usable. Right now it's a TV room and the TV can't be centered of the room. It's pushed to one side, so that means the couch is pushed to one side. It just is sort of wacky.
The sectional overhangs, so there's like a space behind it where the existing house was. And we have a big sectional because we have 3 kids, so.
Yeah, it'll just make the room a lot more usable.
And in case it matters, I spoke to that neighbor and he said that he's fine with that and he's planning on doing an addition as well, so I don't think he's going anywhere for a while.
And no one's here, which is a good thing.
Well, I should also add, they're on my property, but the prior owner, the neighbor, my neighbor's a landscaper, he planted arborvitae across the property to create like a wall, obviously. And from his side, you can't even really see the house anyway. They're about 8 or 9 feet tall now, and I expect they'll be beyond that after. I don't know if you can see it in there.
That would be 47.
Yes. Oh, yeah, you can kind of see.
You can see the bushes. Well, these pictures were taken a couple of years ago. How much bigger are they? This project's been worked on for quite a few years. When we finally got here.
Yeah, they've gone up since. That's all.
As you can see, we started at 6:21. No, the drawings were finished 6:21. We started it prior to the pandemic, and then it got put off, and then, okay, yeah, let's do it, and then it got held off again. So we're finally, before I totally retire, he's dragging me to do this.
We saw the size of the project and dragged our feet because we're like, we'll just buy another house. And as you know, there's tons of them available around here. It was very simple. It just had to be bigger than the one that we have, and it has to be in the forest district or my kids
There
were
was
going
nothing.
to.
It's crazy.
The front of the house is roughly 60 feet wide.
No, yes,
Proposed.
proposed.
Yeah.
Proposed is roughly 60 feet wide, and the whole property is only 78 feet wide.
It's about 78 feet. Yes.
I know you were here for the previous discussion, but one of the points that is of concern, when I look at your photos of your other houses, they appear to be smaller, and even the one with the addition is offset, so that it does not appear to be a wall across the property. And that's one of the things, when you're driving down the street, we're looking to avoid having it look like you used every square inch of property.
Well,
Was there any thought given to sliding that addition back?
could easily be done. It could easily be done.
One of the reasons we have it where it is, my two boys are like very competitive soccer players, so we were trying to preserve as much of the backyard as possible. And then also for the neighbors' benefit too, because the view from the two sides, because you have the trees and the church parking lot, in the winter you can actually see the pond in Verona Park. So I didn't want to go back too far and kind of turn, kill the view for everybody.
Right now, it would be sort of garage to garage.
The garage.
Well, their garage comes around the back, but I should say that they do have a little bit of, I should say driveway to driveway is probably the better way to put it. But if the board would prefer, we could slide that garage addition back a good 5 or 8 feet.
That would probably impact a tree though.
Where's the?
It's in the back in the middle, but my
Oh,
understanding
no, it's
is
right
that
here. It's right here.
well, Fry had a tree person there and they said the roots typically.
Oh, no, we're going to be about 30 feet. We're fine. Even if it comes back a little further, we're 30 feet from the tree.
That wasn't what I was told though. I don't know, well, that's from a tree person, but anyway, well, we could.
If you were to slide the house, if you were to slide the side with the garage, the new addition back, would it eventually get rid of the variance on that side?
I'd have to slide it totally behind the existing house. Because I need to make up 3 feet. And that's the differential from front to back, is 3 feet. It would lessen the combined variance, but it would not get rid of it.
No, get rid of it.
It would probably make that maybe 9.2 feet, 9.3, if we moved it back 7 or 8 feet.
I guess my question, was more so in terms of where we currently are as a, we're kind of talking about the slide that comes around on a piece of paper here, but we talked about kind of the current size, 22 and a half width. I'm more concerned about kind of the depth. I know we talked about comparing it to the previous discussion or the previous proposal that was put before us, but this one does appear to be kind of flat with the house. The current presumption of how many vehicles would fit in that driveway is what at this time, as it stands now?
Wait, repeat the question.
Like how many vehicles would fit in that drive based on the current design? Because I'm trying to figure out kind of the depth, and it looks like it's going to be maybe.
You'd have 30 feet, so 2 smaller cars stacked. Oh, no, 30 feet to the property. Yeah, the property line's before the sidewalk. So 2 smaller cars, because I only have about 30 feet, cars anywhere from 15 to 17 feet.
Yeah, because I guess my concern is, being flush and not being set back, and in the previous remark being that this is overfull of parking for OLL and all that, is that, I know that the concern here was side to side and flat facing and all that, but I'm more concerned about pushing vehicles onto the, street parking and all that. So, what is the current, conditions on the street parking and all that there?
Well,
Is this
there's
simply
no
a problem?
parking allowed in front of their home. That street, there's only one side of the street parking, so that's across the street. Their children are fairly small. I mean, how old are your kids? The oldest is 9. So we probably have another 7 years before permits are going for that. But there's not the intention, really, to park in the drive. The intention, and that's why we made it 22 by 22 inside. So you really could get 2 real cars in, open up a car door with kids without clobbering the car next to you. And then the back area of the garage is mudroom, cubbies, closets, and a powder room, because there's no powder room on the first floor. But if we did need to slide it back, if that would be a condition of the approval, that you want it slid back, we could slide it back. That was another reason why we did put the front porch on, so you would not have that big flat facade.
And then, sorry, if you don't mind, I know that it was mentioned before that there was a potential change of plans on the stormwater management on the driveway. What is the current plan to address that in terms of current follow-ups? Like there was,
We were going to use macadam,
okay,
because the children, they're going to be using it for play area too. Riding bikes, playing basketball, the impermeable pavers, it's really tough to do anything on. I don't know if you've ever used them for, kids riding bikes and stuff. It just doesn't work. Or little kids with tricycles.
You did say that you received the engineering report.
Yes.
Mr. Tenkate, are we good with all of I seem to remember the report was rather lengthy.
Yeah, they'll have to address some of these issues during resolution performance. I just want to confirm that your curb cut will be 16 feet?
Yes.
So you conform with that?
Yes. You know what, I'm sorry, I didn't mention the engineering report, I should have. It was like, I believe, 6 pages. Most of the items on here would be addressed when we went for permits, in terms of some of the stormwater management issues would be changed to the green infrastructure, and then would have to then be in turn changed. But most of the items, like I said, are things that are picked up, not so much at this stage, but have to be picked up at permitting.
Okay.
I'm just trying to see if there was anything that caught my eye. Things like the discharge, the soil movement,
Right,
not
not necessarily zoning issues, but.
Right.
These can be addressed during resolution.
Yeah, we have no problems conforming to everything on this list. I don't believe there was anything that surprised me, to be honest with you. It was pretty straightforward.
and then perhaps same as this previous one, maybe I just missed it somewhere. The addition that is creating the issue with the variance on the right side, the 6'8", that does affect the per AC unit. Where is that going?
It would not affect it, because it's
okay.
only going to be on the first floor, and that's already down a few feet.
Okay.
That's going to be open underneath.
Oh, wow, okay.
So,
well, that's that whole height thing that you guys were talking about before.
Yeah, so
Got it. Sorry
our
about
intention is hopefully not to have to move them. If we do have to move them because of logistics and we don't have enough height, they would go to the rear of the property. But our hope is not to have to change all that piping and all that good stuff.
Okay, thanks.
Do we have any additional questions for the architect or owner?
If you move the addition back, as you were speaking earlier, are you going to lose trees there?
Well, the owner said, it just told me that he had a tree man come out recently. There is a tree in the middle of the yard, and he said it was,
He said, depending on how, if you go back, it could be an issue, but he wasn't sure.
yeah, personally, I think we're about 30 feet from the tree. If I go back 5 feet, I really think 25 feet away from the tree is probably fine. I would be very surprised if the roots go that far.
Okay.
We generally use a canopy rule.
Right, and that's what I'm saying, and I don't believe that canopy is 60 feet wide. I mean, it's a pretty big canopy.
If there are no further questions from the board for the applicant or the applicant's architect, I would ask anyone from the public who would like to ask a question. This may be the best time you're ever going to get while he's under oath.
Please approve it. This is why.
Question of us.
All right, and I'm going to say, I don't see anybody from the public who can make a statement, so we will move to close the public portion of the meeting and move to deliberation by the board. If anyone has any overall comments or feels that we should do the one at a time elimination, if that was successful. Some of this is consistent with the previous application, but I'd be interested in hearing from board members. Not all at once, just one at a time.
I mean, I just remain with the depth of it. I mean, this is, different than the last, whereas the last one was set back, gives a little bit more depth. And, this being kind of pushed up kind of creates, again, that push onto the street parking. But, that was addressed in terms of the potential for options, and if those options are on the table, to at least any degree of extending this is a lot wider. If that variance moves forward, then, even a couple of feet helps there. But that's where I'm at right now.
Okay, so you're kind of in favor of conditioning the addition moving toward the rear of the property?
Of getting an understanding of where everybody else is on that. But yeah, that's my big concern is really flat facade and then pushing vehicles onto the street. And I think the current right now is what the garage doors are at 9.
They'd be 9 foot each with, because of the truck and the SUV. An 8 foot garage door just doesn't cut the mirrors on the truck.
Yeah, I mean, it's nowadays garage doors need to be about 25 feet alone with the size that vehicles are getting. So, sorry, I didn't mean to be humorous, but like, that's where I'm at. I mean, that's my hesitancy is.
I was going to say, I would tend to agree, I guess, I think I agree that the consistent facade being as big as it is, it's going across the property, it's taking the whole property. And that seems somewhat inconsistent with our overall zoning plan. We're looking to put grass area space between the houses. I know I don't see pictures of the two houses across the street, but there are two houses across the street that are on extremely large lots. And probably would raise the same concerns if they were to look for expansions on one side. In fact, you have the opportunity, the lot is actually deep enough to make some changes that might be, way more acceptable. The other houses that we have pictures of don't have that big flat side-to-side front. And that's, when we look for the neighborhoods of consistency, it gives the appearance of being a much larger structure than some that are differentiated on the street, walking down the street. That would be my take on that.
Mr. Chairman,
The other consideration, if you moved it back 5 feet, you'd be closer to the 30-foot setback for the garage. Because it's 20, you're proposing 24.67. And then you could also get 2 tandem cars in the driveway without having any extended bumper onto the sidewalk, if you're closer to it.
Right. And that would be, I think that personally would be preferable, given the fact that there's no parking on that side of the street. Even if somebody's coming to drop kids off or staying to pick them up, it gives them a spot to go without, if your cars are in the driveway, it gives you a little more flexibility on that side of the street for parking. I mean, had somebody come over to sit for the kids or whatever you need, you could get them off the street. So the concerns, which ones are most valid, which ones are recurring? Let's start with an easy one. Are we good with the double driveway? Now that it's standard, we don't, we got it down to 16, it's not 22. Thought it was 19. Oops, that's what it is.
The curve is 16.
16. Are we good with 19? Going once? Yes. Going twice? Good. Good with 19. The deck. We talked about the deck being 6 feet maximum. If something changes, whatever. If it's a little shorter, it'd be less than 6 feet. Are we okay with making the variance no more than 6 feet? Yes. Yes. Height of the structure. Did we decide to move that to 30 feet within, well, or are we still looking for 32?
The problem is that the house, could I speak?
Yes, I asked a question. Yeah.
The house is raised so high that I even have lower plate heights in the front of the house to be able to bring it down. If I made everything 8 foot upstairs, I would have even been higher. So I don't know how to bring that down and still give me regular ceiling heights upstairs. Just because the house is a good you saw how high it was, like, it's like 5 feet up off the, it's crazy.
Start discussion. I don't have a problem with the 32 feet from where you stand on the sidewalk looking at it. At a point, it's, again, when the 32 feet stretches 60 feet across the property, it becomes more of a concern.
Yeah, it is only on the right side, the 38 feet, and it is set back quite a bit because it is a hip roof. It's not, but that's, you guys have to make that
It's
determination.
hip roof, so only the ridge,
Yeah, the ridge is
the 32 feet.
the 32. Yeah, and that's from the lowest side. From the right side, it's 31.4. I mean, 31.3.
Can you determine the height based on our crazy taking several points on a sloping property?
Yeah.
It worked.
Oh, no, I didn't say it didn't, but I'm just,
It worked. That's okay. Proposed front yard setback 26 feet. It makes sense with the addition of the porch.
So could we condition it that it can't be expanded upon, that it has to be used as for the porch and no other?
As an open porch. Technically,
That's a tough one.
Yeah, I like that. That would work. Yeah. Say it.
absolutely.
Okay.
We didn't
Thank you.
anticipate that being usable space other than,
I'm here wondering what else I could even do with it, so never even occurred to me. What, like people turn it into part of the house later? Is that like?
Well, if the variance is granted, you could then, bring your house forward another
Oh,
6
yeah,
feet.
oh, no.
Another future expansion.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah. Condition that the front porch area will remain open.
Yeah, that's fine.
and the other feature of it is when we do a variance, it runs with the land. So if you were to decide to move someplace, whoever purchased the house, if we didn't put that in there, could then enclose that and make it.
Oh, yeah, no.
Gotcha.
We have no intention of that. Swing, I think, is the big deal there.
Make a sunroom, some people make sunrooms out of those porches.
Yeah, no, maybe in the back, but I wouldn't do that in the front, no. Makes sense.
So we're okay with the 24.6 foot setback in the front as long as it's conditioned that the porch is not enclosed. The setbacks, while they appear to be two variances, are connected. The right side isn't changing.
It is changing, it's just
Okay.
a little,
Oh,
the small, the small piece in the back right.
Okay, so does anybody have a problem with the right side? Okay, so the proposed right side setback is 6'6", we're at 7'5", each required. We're all in the ballpark on this one. Make sure the trees keep growing. The combined one brings into consideration the left side. And one of the reasons we look to have that combined, where one of them has got to be bigger than 8, is
for moving any type of equipment in and out. In order to stay on your property, you're probably going to have a difficult time bringing any decent-sized equipment around to the backyard in the event you need to dig a really deep pit for some of this retention material. And it'll make it interesting. You will have to have a good relationship with the neighbor who has the combined driveway on that side to access the rear of your property. I know right now, you probably don't think, well, there's no reason I would need to do that, but you'd be amazed when the day comes and they're telling me it's going to cost way more money to try and figure out a way to go over your house than around it. I'm not sure about the other board members, but I know that presents a bit of a problem for me. Again, it's the whole front facade and the proximity to that lot.
Can I speak?
You can.
Thank you. I was just talking to my client, and he is seriously thinking about making the garage much, much smaller, or getting rid of the garage and just do a room that conforms and do the garage in the rear of the property that conforms. Because I think with listening to what you're saying with the overall width and everything else, I think he's a little concerned also. So if we take the combined side yard setback off the table, and we go in with a permit that then has that smaller, then we would not need that variance anymore, and we could take that off the table.
And that would certainly be acceptable.
Okay, we definitely need the corner, and we need the height of the main house, and we're making the deck smaller anyways, and then our front yard. So we'll take that side yard setback variance off the table. The combined.
Yeah, I don't want to have the wall of house like you said, and I don't want to not be able to access the backyard. So we were already kind of, honestly, when I saw the.
When we were listening to your,
Yeah.
that's why I came to you and said, okay, we're going to make a few changes, but I think that's something we're willing to do right now. And like I said, it'll just, I think, make this a better application.
It would, and I would certainly be acceptable of that as a change. Counselor, we catch all those changes?
Well, we did, but I would like a brief summary, just so we can incorporate that in the resolution. I assume you don't want to come back and you'd like to get this done tonight. Yeah, I imagine so. I don't blame you. So if you'd be so kind as to just summarize those changes for me, and in a way that I can encapsulate those in a resolution that'll make sense going forward to everybody that reads it.
We'll start with the front yard setback.
Okay.
We are proposing 24.67, which would be a 5.33 variance.
Yep, so that's not the point. So that's not what I was trying to get at. So what changes are we making with regard to the combined side yard and with regard to that garage?
I was just going to go through all the
I'm good with all of those.
Okay.
Let's, 10 o'clock at night, let's get to the point. We appreciate your time and hope you appreciate ours.
I thought we were going to Verona Inn after.
Yeah.
Okay, so our side yard combined.
Correct, it's going to be eliminated. The variance will be eliminated.
Be eliminated, so we will maintain a minimum of 19.5. That is required.
That's fine. Now, what about the garage? You said you were going to reduce the size of the garage?
We're going to reduce the size, whether or not that's a garage or a family room, but I think it's going to come off 4 feet, and if it comes off 4 feet, I do have plenty of lot coverage that if they decide to do a detached garage in the back.
Perfect.
But we are going to lessen that left side yard variance, so we'll probably pick up another 5 or more feet, 4 or 5 feet. So we'll be no less than 19.5 for combined side yard.
And that is the left side, you said? Facing the house to the left?
Facing the house to the left will be increased to maintain a combined side setback of 19.5 feet.
Good.
Whatever it is. Okay.
Thank you.
Huh?
Yeah, we good, we can do that, okay. So, I seem to think that we slipped into a position where we might be able to take a vote on this application. If someone was interested in making a motion,
I just want to make sure we have all of the other modifications as well.
So this is what I have so far as conditions are concerned. I have a condition that the front porch area will remain open and not be enclosed at any point in the future. And I also have the intention of the applicant to revise the application to reduce or to rather increase the side yard setback to the left side of the structure to ensure that the combined yard setback of 19.5 feet is met. We did have the discussions about the additional changes that were in the beginning, and I will go over them. So we're reducing the size of the deck to less than 540 square feet. That's
Or 20%, because if this addition is smaller,
20%.
Okay, so let's say
whatever the 20%, less than 20%.
So we're going to reduce the size of the deck so that it complies with the Verona zoning
Correct.
ordinance, and that'll be less than 20% or less than 20% of the principal structure, which is 2715. The width of the driveway will be changed to reduced so that the maximum width of the driveway is going to be 19 feet. And that was it. And we have the combined side yard setback. So yeah, those are just, so the two conditions are, and I don't know that we need to make those other two, the reduce the size of the deck a condition. If you'd like to add that as a condition, I'm happy to do it.
We're not granting a variance.
Right.
Yeah, so
Correct.
The only thing that's under discussion, I don't know, if the regular is the distance, the setback of that garage side. You're going to let that go, or what are you going to do with it?
If it's smaller, part of the property, if it's small, thinner, I guess is the word, then the setback, I think it would be okay across the front of the property.
Okay. Just want to make sure that we have all that.
Everybody okay with that?
So I would just have the condition that the front porch area remain open and not be enclosed at any point in the future. And everything else we'll just incorporate into the resolution, into the actual text of the resolution, and the applicant will be bound by the testimony that they provided today to go forward with their plans as they said they would.
So then we only need 4 variances.
I've got width of the driveway at 19 feet. I have front porch, and I have the right side setback. That's 3. Deck height, 4, and 5, height of the total structure.
Okay, yes.
So we're 5.
Okay, so who made that motion?
I will make the motion. I will make the motion to approve application 2024-05.
As described.
As previously described with the conditions.
Do we have a second on that? Okay, Dr. Reese, second. We have a motion and a second. Can we have a roll call vote?
Dr. Reese? Yes. Mr. Cortez?
Yes.
Vice Chair Weston?
Yes.
Chairman McGinley?
Yes. By my count, that passed.
Great. Thank you so much for your patience.
Congratulations. We'll draft the resolution. We'll have it memorialized at the next meeting, and you'll be able to move forward at that point.
I guess when we go in for permit, we'll have the updated engineering, all the requirements, the environmental commission suggestions. I think they're not binding, but the suggestions, but we'll try to comply as much as possible. And the provisions of the conditions today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Try
Have a
very
great night.
hard to-
Thank you.
to save
Enjoy
that
the Verona.
shrubbery. That's beautiful shrubbery.
Yeah.
Try hard to save it.
Oh, we will. Thank you.
Okay. Is there any reason to move to executive session this evening? No.
Just housekeeping.
Two housekeeping.
Financial disclosure statement. Will be due April 30th. You should have all gotten emails, I think in your private, not your Verona emails. And then to introduce, thank you. To introduce Mal, see what a great assistant she is? So this is Malik Metwali, but she just is called Mal. So Mal will be transitioning into the board secretary position. But she'll still have me here when Chair McGinley makes me come as the zoning officer.
It's been one of my fighting points. But we're looking forward to working with you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Appreciate it. And of course, anytime we get Squire Piramali, we're in good shape.
But that's totally, again, how she, when Diana doesn't want to come visit us. Are we good?
I think we are good. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Good. I heard it. We're good. It was unanimous. Good night. Peter. Thank you.
You got your suit.